The Governance of China, Volume 3, by Xi Jinping. Audiobook, Part 10. High Quality Development. Enrich the thought on the socialist economy in the new era. Part of the speech at the Central Conference on Economic Work, December 18th, 2017. Historic achievements and transformations have been made in the work of the party and the country since the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012. The same has also happened in the economic field, creating solid material conditions for reform and development in other sectors. After the 18th CPC National Congress, China was confronted by a complex economic situation both at home and abroad, facing many challenges that had rarely been seen since the launch of reform and opening up in 1978. The underlying impact of the international financial crisis persisted, with the world economy suffering a sluggish recovery, world trade in the doldrums, and protectionism widespread. With mounting downward pressure on the domestic economy, excess production capacity was becoming a salient issue. Industrial product prices were in steady decline, and potential financial risks were increasing. All of these required us to think about the direction of our economic development and solutions to problems on which we found it hard to reach agreement. At that time, our major challenge was to come to a sound judgment on the economic situation and make the right decisions on how to carry on with our economic work. In the past 5 years, the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee, the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee, the leading group for further reform under the CPC Central Committee, and the leading group for financial and economic affairs under the CPC Central Committee have held over 100 meetings at which major decisions and judgments concerning overall national economic development have been made. This process, from practice to understanding and from practice to understanding all over again, is extraordinary, helping us to constantly sum up the underlying laws of the economy, enhance our understanding, unify our thinking, and make the right decisions. Practice is the sole criterion for testing truth. Practice has proven that the Central Committee's assessment of the economic situation, its decisions on economic work, and its adjustments on development ideas are sound, and this has guided us to achieve historic transformation and results in economic development. First, our economic strength has reached a new level. In the past 5 years, our annual economic growth has averaged 7.1%, reaching over renminbi 80 trillion this year and making up 15% of the world total, 3.5 percentage points higher than 5 years ago. Our contribution to world growth was over 30% on a yearly basis, exceeding the US, Europe, and Japan combined. Our country has become the major engine and anchor of world economic growth. Our market has expanded and attracted investors at an unprecedented rate. Second, major changes have taken place in the economic structure. We have advanced supply-side structural reform, cutting overcapacity, reducing excess inventory, deleveraging, lowering costs, and strengthening areas of weakness. These measures were taken to reduce excess capacity, clear goods from the market, and promote balance between supply and demand. New technologies, new products, new industries, and new business models have flourished, and innovation has played a more obvious role as the major driving force of the economy. The agricultural sector has witnessed stable growth and further structural adjustment. As a result of our concerted efforts, our economic growth now relies more on industry and services combined rather than industry alone, and more on consumption and investment combined rather than investment alone. And China has changed from a major exporter to both an importer and exporter. We have finally achieved long sought after, major structural changes. Third, more vitality and resilience have become apparent in our economy. We have stated that we will let the market play the decisive role in allocating resources, let the government play its role better, and drive deeper reform in the economic system. On the whole, we are making gradual and steady progress and have made breakthroughs in certain areas. The leading group for further reform under the CPC Central Committee reviewed and approved 105 major measures in structural economic reform. This reform was then rolled out across the board, and major breakthroughs were made in key fundamental fields, which served to emancipate the productive forces immensely. Fourth, China has opened up further to the outside world. The Belt and Road Initiative, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the Silk Road Fund that we have initiated and promoted, and the win-win cooperation philosophy we have advocated, have expanded our space for development. Foreign trade and foreign direct investment have seen stable growth. The renminbi was included in the International Monetary Fund's Special Drawing Rights (SDR) basket, a major step towards the internationalization of the renminbi. Towards the goals of promoting free trade and investment, we have actively guided economic globalization onto the right path. Our influence on global economic growth and our voice in global economic governance have markedly increased. Fifth, people's sense of gain and happiness has been heightened. Over the past 5 years, a total of over 65 million jobs have been created in urban areas. Income growth surpassed the overall rate of economic growth, and decisive progress was made in eliminating poverty, with over 66 million people helped out of poverty. The quality of education has improved. A social security network covering rural and urban residents is in place. Access to health and medical services has significantly improved, and basic public services have become equally accessible to more people. China now has the world's largest middle-income population. Sixth, noticeable progress has been made in protecting the eco-environment. In the past 5 years, we have been firm in accelerating the pace of eco-civilization, leading to greater initiative and awareness of green development within the party and the nation. Tangible results have been seen in the control and prevention of air, water, and soil pollution. The average concentration of PM 2.5 declined by 30% in key areas. Energy intensity fell by 20.7%. And forest acreage and stock volume increased by 10.87 million hectares and 1.9 billion cubic meters, respectively. Regarding the eco-environment, our commitment, measures, and achievements are unprecedented. These historic economic achievements and transformations of the past 5 years have been made under the strong leadership of the Party Central Committee and with the joint efforts of the party and the whole country. In the past 5 years, we have raised a series of new concepts, ideas, and strategies through observing general development trends, assessing the overall situation, and engaging in hard work, which can be summed up as follows. First, we have strengthened the centralized and unified leadership of the party over economic work. We have made it clear that the Central Committee must take overall responsibility and full leadership over economic work, as it is the central task in state governance. The Central Committee is not a place for empty talk, but a place for decision-making. All its decisions must be carried out to the letter. To steer our economy on the right course, we have improved the party institutions that lead economic work, enhanced the Central Committee's ability to analyze and assess the situation with regard to development, formulated major guidelines and strategies, made important decisions and work plans in a timely manner, and ensured they are implemented under the party's leadership. Second, we must always remain committed to a people-centered philosophy of development. We have made it explicit that the people's aspiration for a better life is our goal, and their role as a dominant player in our country is the major driving force. We have taken measures to ensure their well-being and improve their lives, building a moderately prosperous society in all respects by focusing on their major concerns. The people-centered approach should be integrated into the five-sphere integrated plan and the four-pronged comprehensive strategy. We have put forward a strategy of targeted poverty alleviation and eradication, and made comprehensive plans and determined efforts to win the fight against poverty and ensure that impoverished people enjoy a decent life together with the rest of the country. Third, we have adapted to and steered the new normal in economic development. We believe that we have now entered a stage in which we have to shift the gear, to slow down the speed of economic development, to bear the pain resulting from the structural adjustment, and to accept and mitigate the impact of stimulus policies adopted in the early days of reform and opening up. In this new normal stage, we should emphasize the need to embrace the new development philosophy and advance supply-side structural reform. When assessing the economic situation, we must take into consideration the broad view, have a good understanding of long-term economic trends and laws, and in particular, we should know how to correctly assess the performance of our leading officials. GDP must not be the sole criterion in assessing an official's performance, nor should we be swayed by the short-term fluctuations of economic indicators. These judgments have served to clarify our attitude towards our economic situation and our tasks in economic work. They have also helped the whole party and all our people to better understand the economic situation, unify our thinking, and stabilize market expectations. Fourth, we have ensured that the market will play the decisive role in resource allocation and that the government will exercise its functions better. We have underlined that reform is the major driving force of economic growth. Reform is not a mission accomplished, rather it is an ongoing process. We must have the courage to tackle tough issues, break through log jams, and venture risky areas to remove institutional barriers to economic development. Correctly handling the relationship between the government and the market is the key to economic reform. We have also made efforts to improve the market mechanism, break down monopolies, bring into play the pricing mechanism, stimulate the vitality of market entities, and take full advantage of the government's role in macro control, public services, market supervision, social management, and environmental protection. In the meantime, the economic vitality, dominance, and influence of the state-owned sector has been enhanced and the vigor and creativity of the private sector stimulated. A clean and cordial relationship between government and business has thus taken shape, fostering entrepreneurship and breathing new life into economic growth. Fifth, we have adapted to changes of key problems in economic development and improved our macro control. We have stated that macro control must be based on the characteristics of the present development stage and changes in the economic situation. expanding demand and adjusting supply when necessary, which requires us to make discretionary choices and issue corresponding prescriptions. At present, the biggest challenge confronting our economy is in its structure, and particularly in the supply side, which manifests itself in the inability of supply to adapt to changes in demand. In this case, if we stimulate demand blindly, it will only end up creating more risks and overdrawing future growth potential. Fortunately, we have addressed the principal challenge, in particular the key factor of such a challenge, by adjusting our approach to macro control and taking supply-side structural reform as the general goal. And we have made the right decisions for the sound and sustained development of our economy. Sixth, we have taken a problem-oriented approach in developing new strategies for economic growth. It is our belief that we should focus on major issues and have a long-term vision to maintain economic momentum. We have implemented key strategies in sectors concerning our future overall development. For example, we have decided to adopt the strategy of coordinated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region with a view to relieving Beijing of functions not essential to its role as the capital of our country. We have put forward the development strategy of the Yangtze River economic belt to strengthen environmental protection rather than seeking rapid growth at the cost of the environment, and we have put forward the Belt and Road Initiative to promote win-win cooperation. Other such strategies include the development plan for the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, a new urbanization strategy with a focus on quality urban development and well-rounded development of the people, an innovation-driven strategy that emphasizes stimulation, a new food security concept highlighting basic self-sufficiency in grain and absolute grain security, new thinking on water conservancy concerning coordinated management of water resources, water ecosystem, water environment, and floods, and a new energy security strategy to boost consumption, supply, and technological development in energy, reform the energy system, and strengthen international energy cooperation. These important strategies have exerted and will continue to exert a profound influence upon our economic growth and transformation. Seventh, we have realized that in addition to good guiding philosophy and policies, we should have sound tactics and approaches if we want to boost sound and sustainable economic development. We maintain stability while making progress in our work, and strike a balance between the two by being prudent in macro control and making it more targeted and precise. We are steadfast and unremitting in implementing strategies, staying true to our principles, taking into full consideration any difficulties and problems, and are always prepared to deal with the worst-case scenario. Like a hammer driving a nail, we need to move forward step by step, taking each small step as a big success. And in the process, we do everything we can to counter every possible risk, and particularly systematic risk. In conclusion, we have successfully steered the economy on the right course since the 18th CPC National Congress and developed the thought on the economy of socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era, with the new development philosophy as its core. As a valuable asset of our party and the country, this thought crystallizes the experience of our economic development over the past 5 years and is a theoretical summary of our political economics guided by the basic tenets of Marxism. We must uphold this thought for a long time to come, keep enriching it, and bring about a more profound, extensive, and historic transformation in our economy. China's economy, from high-speed growth to high-quality development. Part of the speech at the Central Conference on Economic Work, December 18, 2017. As socialism with Chinese characteristics has entered a new era, China's economic development has also embarked on a new phase, the basic feature of which is that our economy is now transitioning from rapid growth to high-quality development. I emphasized this in the report to the 19th CPC National Congress in 2017. It is a weighty conclusion, and its historical and current significance must be fully understood. First, it is an essential requirement for our country to maintain sustained and sound economic development. China has reached a critical stage in transforming the growth model and is faced with prominent problems such as rising labor costs, increased constraints imposed by resources and the environment, unsustainable models of extensive development, and impediments in the flows of the economy. At the same time, a new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial transformation is gaining momentum, and multiple breakthroughs are being made all around the world. We must promote high-quality development if we are to adapt to new technological changes and new needs of the people, and we must form a high-quality, efficient, and diversified supply system to provide more quality products and services. Only in this way can supply and demand achieve proper balance at a new level, and can our economy maintain sustained and sound development. Second, it is an essential requirement for China to adapt to the evolution of the principal challenge facing Chinese society and achieve moderate prosperity and socialist modernization in all respects. This challenge involves low-quality development as represented by unbalanced and inadequate development. As it evolves, our economy is also entering a new historic stage. To address this challenge, we must promote high-quality development. We must not neglect quantitative development, but we must pay more attention to quality so as to achieve effective growth in quantity through a substantial improvement in quality. Third, it is an essential requirement for China to follow the well-established rules of economic development. The world hosts more than 100 middle-income economies. Since the 1960s, only a dozen of these have graduated to high-income economies. Following a phase of rapid economic growth, these successful countries all transformed from quantitative expansion to qualitative improvement. In contrast, those countries that have stagnated or even retrogressed are failing to grow because they have not achieved this fundamental transformation. Economic development is a process of spiral escalation rather than linear. Once quantitative growth has accumulated to a certain degree, we must turn to qualitative improvement. China must follow this law in its economic development. High-quality development can meet the people's ever-growing desire for a better life. It reflects the new development philosophy. In high-quality development, innovation is the primary driving force. Coordination is an endogenous feature. Go green is a prevailing mode. Openness is the only path, and sharing is the fundamental goal. In terms of supply, high-quality development requires a relatively complete industrial system, network-based and intelligent organization of production and strength in innovation. It means understanding demand, exerting high brand influence, building strong core competitiveness, and delivering high-quality products and services. In terms of demand, high-quality development should continuously meet the people's individual, diverse, and ever-growing expectations. These needs lead to changes in the supply system and structure, which in return generate new needs. In terms of input and output, high-quality development should entail improving the efficiency of labor, capital, land, resources, and the environment, raising the contribution level of scientific and technological progress to economic growth, and increasing total factor productivity. In terms of distribution of the proceeds, high-quality development should ensure that investors obtain returns, enterprises make profits, employees earn incomes, and the government receives taxes, and that all such gains correspond to their respective contribution as evaluated by the market. In terms of the macroeconomic cycle, high-quality development should ensure a smooth cycle of production, circulation, distribution, and consumption. Rational proportional relationships and configuration of major economic sectors, and stable economic development without excessive rises and falls. To be very specific, high-quality development means a change from seeking growth to seeking better growth. To promote high-quality development, we need to develop a modern economic system, which is a strategic goal for China. To achieve this goal, we must take firm steps in the following areas. Put quality first and give priority to efficiency in accordance with the requirements of high-quality development. Advance supply-side structural reform. Work hard for high-quality, high-efficiency, and more robust drivers of economic growth through reform. Build an industrial system that promotes coordinated development of the real economy, technological innovation, modern finance, human resources, and develop an economic system with more effective market mechanisms, dynamic micro-entities, and sound macro regulation. Promoting high-quality development is the fundamental requirement behind our goals, our economic policies, and our macroeconomic regulation at present and in the period to come. We must put in place a framework for high-quality development that covers indicators, policies, standards, statistics, performance evaluation, and government appraisal of achievements. With this improved institutional environment, we will work to make constant new progress in high-quality development. Accelerate economic modernization. Main points of the speech at the third group session of the Political Bureau of the 19th CPC Central Committee, January 30th, 2018. Developing a modernized economy is a major undertaking that demands in-depth discussions from the perspective of integrating theory with practice. It is a strategic goal for China's development and an imperative for the transformation of the development model, the optimization of economic structure, and the fostering of new growth engines. The whole party must have a good understanding of the importance and difficulty of developing a modernized economy and a good grasp of the goals and priorities of this task, and work together to bring out new vitality in economic development and elevate it to a new level. Developing a modernized economy is an important strategy decided by the Central Committee in view of the overall requirements that our party and our country meet the new calls of socialism with Chinese characteristics entering a new era and realize the two centenary goals. A strong country must have a strong economy. Only with a modernized economy can China better adapt to current international trends, seize the initiative in international competition, and provide support for modernization in other fields. We should develop a modernized economy quickly because this is an important part of building China into a great modern socialist country. A modernized economy integrates all social and economic activities at every link and every level, and in every area that are interconnected and internally related. An industrial system should be built with innovation, playing a leading role, featuring coordinated development of the real economy, science and technology innovation, modern finance and human resources, so that innovation will contribute more to the development of the real economy. Modern finance will have a stronger capability of serving the real economy, and human resources will play an optimized role in supporting the real economy. A modern market system will be put in place that is unified, open, competitive, and well-ordered to achieve smooth market access, an open and orderly market, full market competition, and sound market management, in which enterprises are responsible for their own operations and engage in fair competition, consumers are free to choose and consume, and goods and production factors flow freely and are exchanged on an equal basis. An efficient and fair income distribution system is to be established to achieve reasonable income distribution, social fairness and justice, and common prosperity for all, to promote equitable access to basic public services, and to gradually narrow the income distribution gap. A system of coordinated urban, rural, and regional development is to be built to help local regions develop their own strengths, to achieve benign regional interaction, integrated urban-rural development, and overall optimization of land and sea resources, to foster and leverage regional comparative strengths, to reinforce complementarity between regions, and to shape a new framework of coordinated regional development. A green development system that conserves resources and is environmentally friendly is to be developed to achieve green, circular, and low-carbon development and harmonious coexistence between humanity and nature, to firmly establish and practice the concept that clear waters and green mountains are invaluable assets, and to bring into being a new model of modernization where humanity and nature develop in harmony. A diverse, balanced, secure, and efficient system for opening up on all fronts is to be promoted, to develop a higher standard open economy and ensure that opening up helps to optimize structure, expand depth, and improve efficiency. An economic system that gives full play to market forces and the role of the government is to be put in place so that market mechanisms are effective, economic players active, and macro regulation sound. These systems make up an integral whole and should be developed and promoted together. In developing the modernized economy, we need to draw on the useful practices of developed countries, but this should be done in line with China's own national conditions and characteristics. A modernized economy demands concrete and effective policies, measures, and actions. We need to pay special attention to these fields. First, develop the real economy to lay a solid foundation for the modernized economy. The real economy is the very foundation of an economy, the fundamental source of wealth creation, and an important pillar of national prosperity. China should extend its supply-side structural reform, develop advanced manufacturing industry, and integrate the real economy fully with the internet, big data, and artificial intelligence technology. We should double our efforts to enhance the real economy, gathering resource elements and adopting preferential policies and measures for it. Our purpose is to create a development environment and social atmosphere that encourages practicality, diligence, entrepreneurship, and prosperity through developing the real economy. Second, lose no time in implementing the innovation-driven strategy to strengthen the support for the modernized economy. China will build a stronger national innovation system, strengthen science and technologies of strategic importance, integrate innovation more deeply with economic and social development, and promote more leading-edge developments that are driven by innovation and first-mover advantages. Third, actively promote coordinated development of urban and rural areas to optimize the spatial configuration of the modernized economy. It is necessary to better implement coordinated development strategies for the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, the Yangtze River Economic Belt, and the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area. Rural revitalization is a great plan, and we must work hard to execute it. Fourth, develop an open economy to improve the international competitiveness of the modernized economy. China should better utilize global resources and markets and promote international cooperation within the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative. Fifth, further reform our economic system to provide institutional guarantees for the modernized economy. China should improve the system of socialist market economy, resolutely break down institutional obstacles in all areas, and stimulate the vitality of the whole society in innovation and entrepreneurship. Speed up China's maritime development. Excerpts from speeches made between March 8, 2018 and October 15, 2019. 1. The ocean is a strategic area for high-quality development. We should redouble our efforts to build world-class ports, a sound marine industrial system, and a green and sustainable marine eco-environment, so as to turn China into a strong maritime nation. From the speech at the deliberation session of the Shandong delegation to the first session of the 13th National People's Congress, March 8, 2018. 2. The marine economy has a boundless future. To build China into a strong maritime nation, we must take good care of, further understand, and manage the ocean, and facilitate innovation in marine science and technology. From the speech during a visit to Shandong Province, June 12th through 14th, 2018. 3. We need to speed up innovation in marine science and technology, improve the ability to develop marine resources, and cultivate and strengthen strategic emerging industries in this sector. We will promote maritime connectivity and cooperation in various fields and develop blue partnerships with other countries. We should attach great importance to marine eco-environmental progress, strengthen the prevention and control of pollution, protect marine biodiversity, develop and utilize marine resources in an orderly manner, and leave turquoise seas and blue skies for our future generations. From the congratulatory letter to the 2019 China Marine Economy Expo, October 15th, 2019. Make China a global center for science and innovation. Part of the speech at the joint session of the 19th meeting of the members of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the 14th meeting of the members of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, May 28th, 2018. With the advent of the 21st century, an unprecedented level of scientific and technological innovation has intensified around the globe. A new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial transformation is redrawing the map of world innovation and reshaping the global economic structure. Breakthroughs are being made and put into application in the new generation information technologies, including artificial intelligence, quantum information, mobile communication, the Internet of Things, and blockchain. A new revolution is in the making in life sciences, represented by synthetic biology, gene editing, brain science, and regenerative medicine. The advanced manufacturing technologies that integrate robots, digital manufacturing, and new materials are expediting the transformation of the manufacturing industry, which is becoming smarter, more service-oriented, and more eco-friendly. The rapid development of energy technologies that target cleanness, high efficiency, and sustainability is anticipated to trigger global energy reform. Space and marine technologies are expanding the living area of humanity. In short, the pioneering breakthroughs in information, life, manufacturing, energy, space, and marine sciences have provided more sources of innovation in frontier and disruptive technologies. A trend of integration among different disciplines, between science and technology, among technologies, and between natural sciences and humanities and social sciences is becoming increasingly obvious. Never before have we seen science and technology exercise such a profound influence on the future of our country and the lives of our people. Currently, some prominent problems continue to interfere with China's scientific and technological development. They need to be addressed immediately. Our science and technology vision, framework, innovative capability, resource allocation, system, and policies are not yet adapted to the new tasks and requirements set at the 19th CPC National Congress held in 2017. Our basic science research is still weak, remaining a prominent problem. Enterprises do not pay enough attention to basic research. We do not achieve enough results from original research. Our capabilities in underlying technologies and fundamental techniques are weak. Shortcomings in fields such as machine tools, high-end microchips, basic software and hardware, development platforms, basic algorithms, basic components, and basic materials hold back our development. And we still have to rely on other countries for core technologies in key fields. Our research and development, R&D, does not fully target our need for industrial development and our weaknesses. International scientific and technological cooperation with a global vision is insufficient, and our ability to transform research results into productive forces is weak. Our systems and mechanisms for cultivating talent and our incentive mechanism to inspire enthusiasm for innovation are incomplete, and we have a shortfall in top talent and research teams. Our scientific and technological management system has not been fully adapted to the need for building our country into a scientific and technological leader. There is a lack of synergy in the implementation of major policies on scientific and technological system reform. Policies on scientific and technological innovation are not yet fully aligned with economic and industrial policies. We need to improve the social environment and mechanisms required to encourage and accommodate innovation. To achieve prosperity and rejuvenation, China must dedicate itself to advancing science and technology and become a major world center for science and innovation. We are closer to the goal of rejuvenating the Chinese nation than at any time in history, so the need to build China into a world leader in science and technology is more urgent than ever. The new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial reform concurs with the transformation of China's development model. We are now in a historic period that brings us both rare opportunities and severe challenges. If we fail to overcome the challenges, we may even fall further behind developed countries. We must be fully aware that sometimes we can seize precious opportunities presented by the times and amplify our national strength, but sometimes we might miss them. Facing the pressing situation, challenges, and tasks, our scientists and engineers must closely follow the current trends, take the initiative, confront problems head-on, and overcome difficulties. They should stay at the forefront of scientific and technological development and shape its direction, shoulder the great responsibilities they bear, and be the pioneers of scientific and technological innovation in the new era. First, we should be fully aware that innovation is the primary force driving development and provides high-quality scientific and technological services to underpin a modern economic system. As the Maoist canon says, force is the reason that an object moves. Footnote 1. The Maoist canon, Mo Jing, was one of the Maoist classics from the late Warring States period, 475 to 221 BC. End of footnote 1. We will focus on improving the quality and efficiency of development, take supply-side structural reform as our main task, and direct our efforts towards building a better quality supply system. We will work hard through reform for better quality, higher efficiency, and more robust drivers of economic growth to make our economy stronger. Through strengthening weak areas, exploiting potential, and creating new strengths, we will facilitate the highly efficient flow and optimized distribution of resources, revolutionize the industrial chain, and upgrade the value chain, satisfy both effective and potential demand, achieve dynamic equilibrium between supply and demand, bolster market anticipation of growth, boost confidence in the real economy. We are in an era when the world economy is dominated by the information industry. We need to grasp the opportunity brought about by the integration of information, internet, and smart technologies, and leverage information and smart technologies to grow new driving forces for the economy. Due to their leading and buttressing role, priority will be given to developing clusters of emerging industries of strategic importance and setting up new industrial pillars. We will fully integrate the internet, big data, and artificial intelligence with the real economy and expand and strengthen the digital economy. We will steer the revolution, optimization, and upgrade of industrial technology in the direction of intelligent manufacturing and propel the fundamental transformation of business models and enterprise structures in the manufacturing sector. We will replace the old with the new, use new growth to boost existing capacity, and move Chinese industries up to the medium-high end of the global value chain. Second, we should be committed to independent innovation and build up our confidence and our capability. Only with self-confidence can a nation move forward steadily on the road to the future. A high and exuberant tree grows from deep roots. It is self-reliance that has enabled China to stand firmly among nations of the world, and innovation is the only path to reach new heights in science and technology. Dr. Sun Yat-sen said, "If I believe I can do it, then I am able to complete any difficult task, even moving a mountain or filling up a sea. If I don't think I can do it, then I may not succeed in even the easiest tasks, like flipping over my hands or breaking off a twig." Footnote 2. Sun Yat-sen. Plan for National Reconstruction. Complete Works of Sun Yat-sen, Volume 1, Chinese edition, People's Publishing House, Beijing, 2015, page 15. End of footnote 2. In innovation, the odds of failure are much higher than those of success, but we should have the determination shown by patriotic poet Chu Yuan, quote, "For the ideal that I hold dear to my heart, I will not regret 1,000 deaths to die." End quote. Footnote 3. Chu Yuan, The Lament, Li Sao. Chu Yuan, circa 339 to 278 BC, was a poet and statesman in the Warring States period. End of footnote 3. Our scientists and engineers should have great confidence and resolve in innovating, being neither self-abased nor conceited. They must strive to surmount all difficulties on the way to triumph and gain an edge in scientific and technological competition and future development. We have learned from our experience that China cannot ask for, buy, or beg for core technologies in key fields from other countries. Only by holding these technologies in our own hands can we ensure economic security, national security, and security in other areas. Our scientists and engineers must have firm confidence in the path, theory, system, and culture of Chinese socialism and boldly explore uncharted courses in the research of core technologies, particularly key generic technologies, cutting-edge frontier technologies, modern engineering technologies, and disruptive technologies. In so doing, we will realize the goal that core technologies are self-developed and controllable, and keep the initiative for innovation and development securely in our own hands. A scientific and technological leader should have landmark achievements. We need to better guide the development of science and technology by devising strategies and setting specific goals, improve our innovation system and capacity, accelerate the process of creating first-mover advantage that can support leading-edge development, devote greater efforts to planning and studying scientific issues of fundamental and overall importance, focus prime resources, and make strategic plans to achieve rapid breakthroughs in key areas and on specific problems that have hindered us. We will strive to catch up with and eventually surpass advanced countries in overall science and technology, lead the pack in key areas, and become a pioneer in emerging frontier and interdisciplinary areas to create more competitive strength. We should take the people's desire for a better life as the goal of scientific and technological innovation and steer our innovations towards benefiting and enriching the people and improving their living standards. Basic research is the bedrock of the whole scientific system. We should target frontier research, stay ahead of the curve, and lay good foundations for future development. Our scientists and engineers should be planters of trees and diggers of wells, engaging in work that might bring no fame, but can lay the groundwork for future research. We should make major breakthroughs in pioneering basic research and groundbreaking original innovations, so as to lay solid foundations for building China into a world leader in science and technology. We will strengthen basic research in applied sciences, focus on major scientific and technological projects, remove obstacles in the process, speed up the application of research results in industries, bolster the precise docking of the innovation chain and the industrial chain, expedite the transformation of research results from prototypes to commercial products, and fully apply scientific and technological advances to our modernization drive. Engineering science and technology is a key engine driving human progress and a powerful lever to promote industrial revolution, economic growth, and social progress. Those working in this sector should show fine workmanship and team spirit, focusing on the needs of national strategies, major technological issues that relate to economic development and national security, people's actual needs, and the demands of civil-military integration in the new era. We will accelerate the application of innovations and take the initiative in pioneering and strategic fields. Third, we should reform in depth the system of science and technology in all respects, improve innovation efficiency, and inspire innovation vitality. Innovation determines the future, and reform is critical to the prospects of a nation. Science and technology are the fields where continuous reform is most needed. On June 9th, 2014, I emphasized in my speech at the joint session of academicians of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and the Chinese Academy of Engineering that the most urgent priority for stimulating independent innovation is to remove institutional barriers and fully unleash the huge potential of science and technology as the primary productive forces. To complete these priority tasks, we have promoted institutional reform in science and technology for years. We have made an all-out effort in this reform and achieved breakthroughs on various fronts. The framework of reform has been established, and substantial results have been achieved in key areas. In August 2015, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council issued the implementation plan for in-depth institutional reform in science and technology, which lists 143 reform tasks to be accomplished by 2020. We have to date completed more than 110. We have more substantive breakthroughs on a number of challenging issues which we had tried to tackle before but failed to solve. However, some outstanding problems still wait to be addressed, such as low efficiency and capability in the national innovation system, scattered, duplicated, and ineffective allocation of scientific and technological resources, too many redundant projects, honorary title grants, and unnecessary institutions, poor returns from the input in science and technology, insufficient ability to convert research results into commercial applications and create business value, relatively slow progress in reforming research institutes, improving the mechanism that integrates science and technology with finance, and fostering innovative talent, and enthusiasm for original innovation yet to be fully aroused. This year marks the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up. We must maintain firm resolve and courage to further reform in the new era. To reform science and technology, we should boldly address the most difficult problems, change our mindsets, and remove all institutional barriers hindering scientific and technological innovation. As we have said, limits lead to changes, changes lead to solutions, solutions lead to development. Footnote 4. Book of Changes, Yi Jing. End of footnote 4. Technological innovation should be accompanied by institutional innovation. Targeting existing problems and meeting actual needs, we will put more energy into improving institutional planning policies, the general environment, and practices of innovation. We will devote a constant effort to fostering innovators, to enhancing the foundations and resources of innovation, and to creating a favorable environment so as to increase our national strength in strategic science and technology and the overall efficiency and capability of the national innovation system. We will improve the top-level design for the technological innovation system, clarify the functions and positions of enterprises, universities, and research institutes in the innovation chain, and arouse the enthusiasm and vitality of all parties. We will continue to transform the government's management of science and technology, and make full use of its organizational strength. Enterprises play a leading role in innovation and are the vital force for creation. Friedrich Engels wrote in his letter to W. Borgias, quote, "If society has a technical need, that helps science forward more than 10 universities." End quote. Footnote 5. Friedrich Engels. Engels to W. Borgias. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, Collected Works, Volume 50, English edition, Progress Publishers, Moscow, 1979, page 265, end of footnote 5. We should encourage enterprises to take the lead in decision-making on technological innovation, investment in R&D, and implementation of research and application of findings, and cultivate a group of leading innovative enterprises that boast strong capabilities in core technologies and integrated innovation. We will make the most of the market in guiding the direction of and approaches to technological research, the price of production factors, and the allocation of innovation factors, so that the market can play the decisive role in allocating innovation resources. To spur on the development of new technologies, products, and business models, we will improve long-term mechanisms for policy support, input of production factors, guarantees with incentive measures, and administrative services and supervision. We will speed up the application of innovations and remove any barriers that block smooth progress from technological breakthroughs, product manufacturing, to commercial application and the emergence of an industrial chain. We will build national labs to the highest standards and make optimal overall plans for mega science initiatives, projects and centers, and international innovation bases. We will set up a science and technology decision-making mechanism that enables scientific consultation to support administrative decision-making and give full play to the role of think tanks and specialized research institutes. This will help us improve decision-making mechanisms and capacity in science and technology. We will accelerate civil-military integration, improve the organization, management, operation, and policies of this work, and break down the barriers that hinder the engagement of civilian contractors in the defense industry or the civilian use of military technologies. We will intensify law enforcement in the field of intellectual property IP protection and improve IP services. In my speech on science and technology on May 30th, 2016, I emphasized that we would reform and innovate the ways we use and manage R&D funds, and let money serve creative activities rather than vice versa. We would also reform the appraisal system and establish a classification model to appraise the quality, contribution, and performance of scientific and technological innovations and make a correct assessment of their scientific, technological, economic, social, and cultural value. We have promulgated several important reform plans since then, including plan for further reforming the management of scientific and technological programs, special projects, funds, and other undertakings funded by the central government, guidelines on further improving the policies for managing the funding of central government-funded research programs, guidelines on adopting policies oriented to rewarding knowledge, guidelines on advancing the reform of the personnel appraisal mechanism by category, and reform plan for the scientific and technological reward system. All of these have been welcomed by those working in the fields of science and technology. Concurrently, we also have received feedback that these reform measures still have room for improvement, and certain measures have not yet been carried out. Relevant departments should heed with an open mind the opinions offered and continue to press forward with reform so as to release creative activities from the restraints of unreasonable administrative systems such as those regulating fund management and performance appraisal. Fourth, we should be deeply engaged in global scientific and technological governance, contributing Chinese wisdom and helping to build a global community of shared future. Science and technology respond to the call of the times and have a global impact, so we should have a global vision in developing them. Rivers and seas are big because they never reject the small streams that flow in. Independent innovation should be pursued in an open environment rather than behind closed doors. We should gather energy and strength from every part of the world. We will enhance scientific and technological exchange and cooperation with other countries and promote innovation on this basis. We will take the initiative in planning and actively utilize international innovation resources and establish a cooperative and mutually beneficial partnership with other countries to cope with the future challenges facing humanity: development, food and energy security, health, and climate change. We will bring benefits to more countries and their people while achieving our own development and promote balanced development around the world. We should always embrace a global vision when planning and promoting scientific and technological innovation. We should bolster international cooperation, integrate China into the global innovation network, further open up national science and technology programs, participate in and play a leading role in international mega science plans and projects, and encourage our scientists to initiate and organize international scientific and technological cooperation. The Belt and Road Initiative should become an initiative of innovation. We will cooperate with other participating countries to build scientific and technological innovation alliances and bases, and create more opportunities and platforms for common development. We will use to the maximum global innovation resources, raise China's status in the global innovation landscape across the board, and increase our influence and ability to participate in rule-making in global scientific and technological governance. Fifth, we should make human resources the priority in our development and bring together our best achievers to lay a solid foundation for innovation-driven development. Feats are accomplished by capable people. undertakings proceed because of capable people. People are our most precious resource. All innovations are created by people. Both hard and soft power are fundamentally based on strength in human resources. The whole history of science and technology proves that the country with the most capable people and scientists will gain strengths in scientific and technological innovation. At present, China still lacks high-caliber innovative talent, especially talent that can spearhead scientific and technological development. Our talent appraisal system is flawed. It overemphasizes the number of theses scientists and engineers have published, their academic titles, and educational backgrounds. Our scientists and engineers are deluged with appraisals and overburdened with the scramble for honorary titles. And our human resource management does not meet the needs of scientific and technological innovation or conform to the principles governing innovation. We will reform the appraisal mechanism, aiming to establish a system that highlights the innovative capability, innovation quality, and contribution of scientists and engineers, and create institutions that allow them to concentrate on their research and innovation. We should assess the performance of both individual researchers and their teams, respecting and recognizing the contribution of all members. We will improve the incentive system to ensure appropriate remuneration for outstanding scientists and engineers, so as to ignite the passion for innovation across society. Through reform, we will change the practice of permanently labeling talent by static appraisals and of appraising talent with quantity of theses, patents, or funds. Our scientists should not get mired in red tape or waste their precious time on redundant reports and applications. Talented people are essential to innovation. We must expand the channels to build a large talent pool. We will create a favorable environment for innovation and form effective training, hiring, incentive, and competition mechanisms that can help talent to grow, to stand out, and to give of their best, so that talented people will emerge in greater numbers from generation to generation. We should respect and develop talent, address structural problems in human resources, establish a multi-tiered human resource structure, and foster a large pool of world-class talent in strategic science and technology, leading scientists and engineers, young people of caliber, and innovation teams. We will increase investment in human resources, improve policies, create a favorable policy environment for innovation and startups, set up effective mechanisms to attract and employ talent, and finally, bring about a situation where China attracts talented individuals from all over the world to work and compete in an innovative manner. Promote rural revitalization. Speech at the 8th Group Study Session of the Political Bureau of the 19th CPC Central Committee. September 21st, 2018. Rural revitalization is one of the major strategies put forward by the party at its 19th National Congress in 2017. Focused on this topic, this group study session aims to further our understanding of the strategy so that we have a clear picture of the guidelines and improve our performance accordingly. 1. The Rural Revitalization Strategy, an overarching historic mission for socialist modernization. I have always emphasized that we will never have all-round modernization without the modernization of agriculture and rural areas. In the process of modernization, how we deal with the relationships between industry and agriculture and between urban and rural areas determines to some extent the success or failure of our modernization drive. The history of modernization tells us that in some countries, failure to properly handle these relationships has resulted in underdeveloped agriculture and rural areas, short supply of agricultural products, and inability to effectively absorb rural labor. As large numbers of farmers without work flocked into urban slums, rural areas, and the rural economy plunged into destitution, the progress of industrialization and urbanization halted, social order was disrupted, and the whole country eventually slipped into the middle-income trap. The underlying problems lie in the systems of leadership and national governance. As a socialist country under the CPC's leadership, China should have the capacity and resources to properly handle the relationships between industry and agriculture and between urban and rural areas, and steadily steer socialist modernization. China now has reached a historic stage at which we should properly handle the two relationships. After the founding of the PRC in 1949, faced with a seriously backward economy and a largely hostile international environment, we embarked on industrialization from scratch and, with the support of agriculture and rural areas, established a relatively complete industrial system and national economic system through our own efforts. Since reform and opening up was introduced in 1978, we have once again relied on rural labor, land, and capital input to give a powerful boost to industrialization and urbanization. Tremendous changes have taken place in China's cities and towns as a result. In this process, remarkable progress has also been witnessed in agriculture and rural areas, laying a solid foundation for China's reform, opening up, and socialist modernization. We have handled these two relationships appropriately and to good effect. With years of bumper harvests, farmers have increased their incomes, generally ensuring stability and harmony in rural areas. It is important to note that over a long period of time, hundreds of millions of migrant workers have traveled between rural and urban areas in an orderly manner and to good effect. They have not created social unrest, but have provided essential support for our economic and social development. However, we should also be aware that agricultural and rural development in China has lagged behind industrialization and urbanization. The imbalance in China's development is most visible between urban and rural areas, as rural areas suffered most from insufficient development. Since the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012, we have made up our mind to adjust the two relationships and have taken a series of measures to support agriculture with industry and rural areas with urban development. The party put forward the strategy of rural revitalization at its 19th National Congress in order to handle the two relationships from an overall and strategic perspective. It is an objective rule that in the process of modernization, the share of urban development increases and that of rural development decreases. But we need to note that our country has a population of nearly 1.4 billion. No matter how far industrialization and urbanization go, agriculture always needs to develop. The countryside will never vanish, and urban and rural areas will continue to co-develop and coexist in China for a long time. This is also an objective rule. Even if China's urbanization rate reaches 70%, there will still be more than 400 million people living in rural areas. If these 400 million people are left behind in the process of modernization, there will be prosperous cities on the one side and destitute villages on the other, which is not in line with the mission of our party or the essential requirements of socialism. We will not achieve real modernization in this way. 40 years ago, we lifted the curtain of reform and opening up by introducing rural reform. Today, 40 years later, we should break new ground for integrated urban-rural development and modernization by revitalizing the countryside. 2. Implementation of the Rural Revitalization Strategy, key to the work on agriculture, rural areas, and rural people in the new era. In my report to the 19th CPC National Congress, I summarized the Rural Revitalization Strategy and proposed that we prioritize the development of agriculture and rural areas, featuring thriving businesses, an eco-friendly environment, social etiquette and civility, effective governance, and prosperous rural population. We need to put in place sound systems, mechanisms, and policies for promoting integrated urban-rural development and move faster to modernize agriculture and rural areas. Agriculture and rural modernization is the general goal of the strategy. Prioritizing agriculture and rural areas is the general principle. Thriving businesses, an eco-friendly environment, social etiquette and civility, effective governance, and prosperous rural population are the general requirements. And putting in place sound systems, mechanisms, and policies for integrated urban-rural development is the institutional guarantee. The work on agriculture, rural areas, and rural people in the new era must focus on the general goal of modernizing agriculture and rural areas. Over the decades, to make sure the people have enough to eat, we have expended a lot of energy on agricultural modernization and made considerable progress. At present, over 65% of the work on sowing, plowing, and harvesting major crops has been mechanized, and technological advances in agriculture have accounted for more than 57% of the growth of agricultural output. Together with our per capita share of major agricultural products, they have all exceeded the world average. The supply of agricultural products is extremely rich. However, compared to urban areas, rural areas lag far behind in infrastructure, public services, and social governance. Rural modernization involves both material and people, and covers the rural governance system and governing capability. We need to design and implement agricultural modernization along with rural modernization, and transform China from a country with high agricultural output to one with a leading edge in agriculture. The whole party must address affairs related to agriculture, rural areas, and rural people as a top priority. We have always emphasized that we should invest more in agriculture and rural areas, take less from farmers, and reduce restrictions, but in reality, these commitments have not always been matched with action. We should no longer tolerate such negligence. We must take effective measures in terms of financial input, factor allocation, public services, and assignment of officials to bolster agricultural and rural development and narrow the gap between urban and rural areas. In so doing, we will make agriculture a promising industry farming an attractive occupation and the countryside an appealing place to live and work. The general requirements of thriving businesses, eco-friendly environments, social etiquette and civility, effective governance, and prosperous rural population reflect the inclusive nature of the rural revitalization strategy. At the beginning of this century, when China had just reached moderate prosperity in a general sense and was faced with the task of achieving moderate prosperity in all respects, the CPC put forth the general guidelines for building a new socialist countryside, more developed production, better off farmers, social etiquette and civility, a clean environment, and democratic administration. These were in line with the prevailing conditions of the time. As socialism with Chinese characteristics has entered a new era, the principal challenges facing agriculture and society at large have undergone great changes. Higher expectations from farmers have set a higher bar for agriculture and rural development. Thriving businesses are the prerequisite for solving all rural problems. From more developed production to thriving businesses, the change reflects the new requirements for agriculture and the rural economy to adapt to changing market demand, speed up structural upgrading, and promote industrial integration. An eco-friendly living environment is an inherent requirement of rural revitalization. From a clean environment to an eco-friendly environment, the change reflects farmers' desire for a beautiful environment and substantive progress towards an eco-civilization. Social etiquette and civility is an urgent need, and the emphasis is on carrying forward our core socialist values, protecting and continuing the best of traditional rural culture, strengthening public cultural services, helping rural people abandon outdated social mores and customs, and boosting their vitality as the countryside changes for the better. Effective governance is an important guarantee for rural revitalization. From democratic administration to effective governance, the change reflects the need to modernize our rural governance for a vigorous, harmonious, and orderly society. Prosperity is the main goal of rural revitalization. From better off farmers to prosperous farmers, the change reflects farmers' growing desire for a better life. We can see that rural revitalization is a comprehensive drive that targets progress in businesses, the workforce, culture, eco-civilization, and the organizational structure. It applies the principles of the five-sphere integrated plan and the four-pronged comprehensive strategy in our work on agriculture, rural areas, and rural people. We need to make coordinated efforts to promote rural economic, political, cultural, social, and eco-environmental progress and strengthen party organizations in rural areas so as to upgrade agriculture, achieve overall growth for rural areas, and guarantee well-rounded development for the rural population. 3. Remaining committed to the Chinese approach to rural revitalization. In order to implement the rural revitalization strategy, we must first of all establish rules based on practice. Rural revitalization has never been tried before in a country like China, with a population of nearly 1.4 billion. It is a pioneering initiative that has no experience to follow, but our own. China has a large population and suffers from an acute shortage of arable land. The area of arable land per household is only 1/40th of that of the European Union and 1/400th of that of the United States. In many parts of the country, farmers work on small patches of land, and individual households do not have enough land to till, which renders it impossible for China to develop large-scale and mechanized farming throughout the country as is practiced in Europe and the United States. Instead, we should, in most parts of China, encourage small household farmers to engage in modern agriculture by improving agricultural service systems. Now, and for the foreseeable future, we need to focus on farmers' cooperatives and family farms, two types of agricultural businesses that emerged in line with the two-tier system combining unified collective land management and individual household operations to make agribusinesses more efficient. China's long and rich agro-civilization is the root of traditional Chinese culture. Many villages go back hundreds or even thousands of years and have been preserved well up to this day. Many customs and rules have deep cultural roots and still play an important role. We should give expression to morality and virtue while implementing law-based self-governance, so that our fine cultural and moral traditions support and enhance the rule of law and vice versa. We need to continue to explore and spread good practices in this regard. We must pursue integrated urban-rural development for the rural revitalization strategy to be successful. Our urbanization drive included rural towns when it was first initiated. The purpose was to promote integrated urban-rural development. We need to power the initiative with reforms and move faster to develop and improve institutions, mechanisms, and policies for integrated urban-rural development. We need to enhance the multiple input guarantee mechanism, increase investment in agricultural and rural infrastructure, accelerate integration of urban and rural infrastructure, and promote the exchange of human resources, land, capital, and other factors between urban and rural areas. We should establish and improve institutions to extend basic public services to rural areas so that rural residents will enjoy equal access to these services with their urban counterparts. We need to further reform the household registration system, improve basic public services for farmers who have become permanent urban residents, and at the same time continue to protect their land contracting rights, their rights to use homestead, and their rights to share collective income of their villages. Poverty elimination is the priority of rural revitalization. Poor villages and the counties and townships where they are located must focus on this priority and give it the utmost attention. We will have eliminated absolute poverty by the time we achieve moderate prosperity in all respects in 2020, but relative poverty will still exist for a long time. After 2020, the current measures aimed at eradicating absolute poverty will be gradually adjusted to regular support measures for helping the population in relative poverty and integrated into the overall plans for rural revitalization. Early planning must be done to achieve this goal. 4. Providing a strong political guarantee for the rural revitalization strategy. To implement the strategy of rural revitalization, party committees and organizations at all levels must strengthen their leadership and bring together the strengths of the whole party and all sectors of society. We must always follow the correct political direction, uphold the collective ownership of rural land, develop new types of collective economy, and take the road of common prosperity. We should give full play to the role of rural party organizations and strengthen these organizations with a strong leadership. Poor villages need strong party branches to break new ground, and better off villages also need capable party branches to secure further progress. Human resources are the foundation of rural revitalization. We need to find innovative ways to improve the management of rural human resources, fully tap into the potential of the rural workforce, and attract more urban entrepreneurs and professionals of all kinds to rural areas. In implementing the rural revitalization strategy, we should properly handle the following relationships. First, The relationship between long-term and short-term goals. Rural revitalization is a long-term and arduous task. We must adopt a long-term perspective and plan thoughtfully before taking action. We need to make rational plans, emphasize quality, and take our time to ensure efficacy. We need to focus on the tasks at hand, look for areas for breakthroughs, and set priorities. We will work away issue by issue, year in and year out, accumulating small successes and moving towards great achievements. We should have sufficient patience and think ahead about problems that could emerge. We must avoid seeking instant success and refrain from reckless decision-making and impulsive campaigns that would mislead us or make us do the same thing again and again. Second, the relationship between top-level design and grassroots experimentation. With a clear top-level design for rural revitalization from the CPC Central Committee in place, all localities need to consider their own realities and make feasible local plans. Village plans should not be duplicates of urban plans, nor can all villages apply the same model. We should understand the differences between one village and another and work out targeted plans and distinctive policies in line with local conditions to make each a unique home. We should give full play to the principal role and initiative of hundreds of millions of rural people, mobilize their enthusiasm, creativity, and pioneering spirit, and summarize the creative experience at the grassroots level to constantly improve the top-level design. Third, the relationship between the decisive role of the market and a better role of the government. We need to further free our minds and promote a new round of rural reform, beginning with the deep-seated problems in agriculture and rural development, and focusing on the relationship between farmers and the land, between farmers and collectives, and between rural and urban residents. We need to define rural ownership more clearly, promote market-oriented allocation of rural resources, lend more effective support to agriculture, and modernize rural governance. We need to better organize ourselves and activate endogenous drivers of rural revitalization. We should extend supply-side structural reform and enhance the overall efficiency and competitiveness of our agriculture based on market demand. We should optimize the environment for creativity and entrepreneurship in rural areas, invigorate the rural economy with more flexible policies, and cultivate new drivers of rural growth. We need to give full play to the positive role of the government in planning and guidance, policy support, market supervision, and legal support. Rural reform cannot be completed overnight. We may have to endure temporary pain or make sacrifices, but we must not deviate from the correct course. I have always emphasized that no matter how rural reform evolves, we must never alter the collective ownership of rural land, reduce the size of arable land, weaken our grain production capacity, or harm the interests of farmers. We must stay true to these principles and never stray from this path. Fourth, the relationship between enhancing the people's sense of gain and adapting to the current stage of development. We should focus on issues of the greatest concern to farmers and those affecting their most immediate interests, and improve areas of weakness in rural development and people's well-being, so that farmers will have a stronger sense of gain, happiness, and security. We need to rationally evaluate government revenues and expenditure, the strength of the collective economy, and public adaptability, determine the scale of investment, financing channels, and debt levels, and set goals, tasks, and work priorities for different stages, so as to form a long-term mechanism for sustainable development. We must do the best we can. We should never extend our reach beyond our stage of development or set unrealistic goals, nor should we favor form over substance or indulge in showcase projects. Boost the private sector. Part of the speech at a meeting on private enterprise, November 1st, 2018. The key to coping with all kinds of risks and challenges lies in staying focused, enhancing confidence, and pooling efforts to manage our own affairs well. Currently, our economy is growing steadily while maintaining overall stability and keeping major indicators within a reasonable range. At the same time, it is faced with increasing uncertainties, mounting downward pressure, and growing difficulties with business operation. These are inevitable on our way forward. We should be conscious of potential opportunities amidst the challenges we face and have full confidence in our economic development. First, our economy is solid and resilient. It has great potential and significant scope for adjustment. With a domestic market of more than 1.3 billion people, the country is boosting and synchronizing new industrialization, information technology applications, urbanization, and agricultural modernization. An expanding middle-income group is generating enormous demand as consumption moves up market. The imbalance between urban and rural areas and between regions present immense space for development. Second, our country enjoys favorable conditions and has solid material foundations for development. It has the world's most complete industrial system and a growing capacity for innovation in science and technology, and its gross savings rate remains high. Third, our country has abundant human resources. Among its workforce of more than 900 million, 170 million have received higher education or have vocational skills. Every year, over 8 million students graduate from universities. The comparative strength of its workforce remains obvious. Fourth, our country has a vast territory, rich in land resources and potential for intensive land use, providing enormous space for economic development. Fifth, comprehensive analysis shows that the fundamentals of China's economy remain sound and stable. The factors of production supporting high-quality development remain unchanged, and growth built on stable economic performance remains on an upward trend. China's economic growth continues to rank among the highest compared with other major economies. Sixth, our system has its unique strengths. The party's strong leadership makes it viable in our country to pool all our resources to complete major missions. Further reform across the board provides an infinite driving force for development. The state's capacity for macroeconomic regulation and control continues to improve. The world economy continues on its path to recovery. Peace and development remain the themes of our times. In the first 3 quarters of this year, our country's imports and exports maintained steady growth, and the total trade volume with all major trade partners was on the increase. As the Belt and Road Initiative moves steadily forward, cooperation in trade and investment between China and the other countries involved has accelerated, providing great opportunities for China's economy. In short, as long as we maintain our strategic resolve, uphold the underlying principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, take supply-side structural reform as our main task, and further reform and opening up on all fronts, our country will be able to speed up its transition to high-quality development and embrace brighter growth prospects. In the course of economic development, we should create a better environment for the private sector by addressing their difficulties and supporting their reform. We need to help the sector transform pressure into impetus, tap innovation as a lasting source of growth, and give full play to its creativity. Therefore, it is imperative to implement the following 6 policy measures. First, taxes and fees on private enterprises should be reduced to effectively ease their burden. For this purpose, we should push forward supply-side structural reform with a focus on lowering costs for private enterprises. To increase their sense of gain, it is necessary to extend tax reductions and make substantial cuts to the rates of VAT and other taxes through easily applicable measures. Universal tax exemptions can be provided for micro and small enterprises and technology startups. The nominal rates for social insurance contributions should be lowered in accordance with the actual conditions of private enterprises. The methods of collecting social insurance premiums currently in operation will remain unchanged. Premium payments by private enterprises must be substantively reduced, while applying the most stringent standards to prevent tax evasion. We should remove inappropriate taxation that disrupts the normal operation of enterprises. We need to further review and streamline administrative approval procedures concerning private investment management and fees charged to enterprises. Intermediate processes and intermediaries should be regulated to lessen the burden on enterprises, and efforts to eliminate government-levied fees on enterprises should be expedited to lower their cost. We should move more rapidly to promote good local practices nationwide. Second, measures should be taken to address the difficulties and high costs of finance for private enterprises. We should give priority to facilitating access to finance for private enterprises, and in particular, small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, while reducing financing costs step by step. To make financial institutions more willing to offer loans to private enterprises, we need to reform and improve the regulation, evaluation, and internal incentive mechanisms for financial institutions, and evaluate the performance of banks by taking account of the support they provide to the private sector. Access to the financial markets should be broadened to expand the fundraising channels of private enterprises and tap into channels such as private banks, small loan companies, venture capital, stock shares, and bonds. Relevant authorities should design special measures to help private enterprises at risk of defaulting on their stock-based loans and changing ownership, and restore them to equilibrium. Local governments should be provided with guidance to grant the necessary financial aid to those private enterprises that contribute to the country's economic upgrading and have good prospects, on the condition that they take strict measures to prevent illegal fundraising and the loss of state assets. Governments of provinces and equivalent administrative units and cities, specially designated in the state plan, can pool resources to establish policy-based funds and employ multiple means to assist local leading enterprises, major job providers, enterprises in strategic emerging industries, and other key private enterprises in difficulty. We should be keenly alert to debt chains and rectify the misconduct of government departments and large enterprises that default on payments to private enterprises or abuse small enterprises by exploiting their position and strength. Third, the playing field should be leveled. Hidden restrictions and hindrances for private enterprises should be eliminated. An environment of fair play should be created in market access, administrative approvals, business operations, tenders and bids, and civil military integration to give them more space to expand their business. Private enterprises are encouraged to participate in the reform of state-owned enterprises. Differential and selective industrial policies should be replaced by inclusive and functional ones. Policies that run counter to fair, open, and transparent market rules should be abolished. Law enforcement must be reinforced to combat monopolies and unfair competition. Fourth, policy implementation should be improved. Any policy, no matter how well intended, might have a potential downside, a discrepancy between expectations and practice, or a multiplying effect in combination with other policies. We need to take account of all these factors to better implement our policies. All provincial authorities and central departments should improve their methods and management skills to better coordinate the implementation of policies and refine policy measures with quantitative indicators based on their actual conditions. Supportive steps should be taken to ensure that these policies can take root, become more specific, and produce substantive results so that private enterprises can reap more tangible benefits. In the process of cutting over capacity and deleveraging, equal and uniform standards should be applied to all enterprises, whatever their forms of ownership, while indiscriminate reduction and cancellation of loans to private enterprises should be avoided. It is wrong to look at private enterprises through tinted glasses when applying policies. Government departments should improve their ability to perform their duties and follow the direction of macroeconomic regulation. In law enforcement involving workplace safety and environmental protection, authorities should see things as they are, do everything on the basis of reality, and avoid a one-size-fits-all approach. In implementing inspection reform to encourage the development of private enterprises, we should prioritize the special inspection of reform programs for protecting property rights, inspiring entrepreneurship, and undertaking fair competition review as per the meetings of the Central Commission for further reform. Fifth, a new type of cordial and clean relationship between government and business should be established. To this end, party committees and governments at all levels should make solid efforts to support the development of private enterprises as a priority and spend more time and energy genuinely attending to the needs of private enterprises and entrepreneurs rather than paying lip service. Officials must stick to principles and conduct themselves appropriately in their relations with entrepreneurs. This does not mean that officials can ignore their legitimate requests or refuse to protect their lawful rights and interests. On the contrary, officials should take proactive steps to provide the services they need. The departments concerned and principal leaders of local authorities should listen to their opinions and appeals, and in particular take prompt action to help those in difficulty and solve their problems. Supporting and guiding state-owned enterprises and private enterprises, especially SMEs, in overcoming difficulties and pursuing innovation-driven development should be an important part of officials' performance evaluation. People's organizations and federations of industry and commerce should reach out to private enterprises, find out the real situation, convey their difficulties in operations and management to the party and government, and support their reform and resolve to break new ground. To better guide public opinion, major principles and policies of the party and state should be explained correctly, and false assertions should be promptly cleared up. Sixth, entrepreneurs' personal and property safety should be protected. Ensuring their security is the precondition for them to maintain an expectation for stability and put their entrepreneurship into full play. A more intense fight against corruption is essential for the party to exercise effective self-supervision and strict self-governance. It aims to punish corrupt officials, foster a sound political environment, and oppose and rectify violations of party discipline and state laws, such as abusing power for personal gain, trading power for money, embezzlement, bribery, creating obstacles to solicit bribes, and abusing the public. Success in this fight is conducive to the healthy development of the private sector. When performing their duties and seeking entrepreneurs' cooperation in investigations, while endeavoring to solve individual cases, party discipline inspection commissions and supervision departments should protect the legitimate personal and property rights of the entrepreneurs and ensure the lawful operation of their enterprises. We should look at the past irregularities of some private enterprises from a long-term perspective and follow the principles of no conviction or penalty without law, and, when in doubt, favor the accused, relieving entrepreneurs of their concerns and enabling them to move forward with full confidence. As I have emphasized on many occasions, unjust and misjudged cases involving infringement of the property rights of enterprises should be identified and corrected. Recent retrials of several such cases by the People's Court have won a positive response from the public. As I have said before, the healthy development of the non-public sector of the economy depends on those working in the sector. I hope that these people can dedicate themselves to self-study, self-development, and self-improvement. Entrepreneurs should cherish and maintain a positive image, love the motherland, the people, and the party, practice the core socialist values, and promote entrepreneurship. They should set a good example of dedication to their work, abiding by the law in doing business, entrepreneurship and innovation, and making a contribution to society. Entrepreneurs should practice integrity and keep to the right path, focusing on growing their business, observing discipline and the law in business dealings, and strengthening corporate competitiveness in lawful operations. Abiding by the law is an overriding principle that all enterprises should uphold and the key to their long-term development. Entrepreneurs should enhance their approach to running their business by raising their operational and management capabilities and improving their corporate governance structure. Private enterprises with the right conditions are encouraged to establish a modern corporate system to make their enterprises stronger and better. The new generation of entrepreneurs should carry forward their predecessors' spirit of hard work, enterprise, professionalism, and focus more on their main business. Private enterprises should broaden their international horizons and improve their innovation capacity and core competitiveness, endeavoring to become world-class, globally competitive corporations. Coordinated quality development across regions. Part of the speech at the 5th meeting of the Commission for Finance and Economy under the CPC Central Committee. August 26, 2019. Circumstances have changed, and new issues have arisen affecting China's regional economic development. It is imperative that we decide which existing policies to maintain and which to adjust in response to the changing domestic and international situation. We also need to prepare strategic plans for the second centenary goal. 1. Regional development in its current state. In contrast to most other countries, China has a vast territory and a large population, and its natural resources vary greatly from region to region. Coordinating development across different regions has always been a great challenge for us. Since the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, there have been several major adjustments to the distribution of productive forces in the country. During the first 5-year plan period, 1953 to 1957, More than 70% of the 156 key projects supported by the Soviet Union were located in the north, and 54 were in the northeast. In his speech titled On the 10 Major Relationships in 1956, Mao Zedong proposed that the relationship between industry in the coastal regions and industry in the interior must be correctly handled. Development of the third line regions was initiated in the mid-1960s. Footnote 1. In the early 1960s, to prepare for the possibility of war, the CPC Central Committee under the leadership of Mao Zedong decided to classify the provinces and regions of the country into first, second, and third lines in accordance with their strategic importance. The first line represented the strategic front, the third line the strategic rear, and the second line the areas in between. End of footnote 1. After reform and opening up started in 1978, China made a series of key moves, such as establishing special economic zones and opening up coastal cities. Since the mid and late 1990s, while continuing to encourage the eastern region to take the lead in economic development, we have made a series of major strategic decisions, such as developing West China, revitalizing old industrial bases in the northeast and other parts of the country, and spurring the rise of the central region. Since the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012, the Central Committee has put forward new regional development strategies, including the coordinated development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, the Yangtze River Economic Belt, the Belt and Road Initiative, the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area, and the integrated development of the Yangtze River Delta. Next, the Yellow River Basin will be put on the agenda for ecological conservation and quality development in the region. Despite sound regional development on the whole, we are confronted with new issues and circumstances that deserve our attention. First, economic development varies greatly between regions. While the Yangtze River Delta, the Pearl River Delta, and other regions have embarked on the track of quality development, some northern provinces have slowed down in growth. As a result, the national economy has further leaned towards the south. In 2018, the economic output of the north accounted for 38.5% of the national total, down 4.3 percentage points from 2012. Obvious imbalances also exist within some sectors and provinces. Second, the driving forces for development are becoming increasingly polarized. There is a noticeable trend of the economy and population concentrating in big cities and city clusters, which enjoy growing advantages and good prospects for further growth. These include megacities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, and large cities such as Hangzhou, Nanjing, Wuhan, Zhengzhou, Chengdu, and Xi'an. They form regional growth poles for quality development. Third, some regions are facing difficulties in their development. The Northeast and Northwest lag behind. From 2012 to 2018, the Northeast's share of China's total economic output dropped from 8.7% to 6.2%, and the number of permanent residents decreased by 1.37 million, most of whom were young people and those working in high-tech industries. Some cities are ailing, especially resource-exhausted cities and those in traditional industrial and mining areas. Generally speaking, our economic configuration is undergoing profound change, and leading cities and city clusters are becoming the main repositories of development resources. We must adapt to this new situation and develop new ideas for coordinated development across regions. 2. Guidelines for coordinated regional development. The guidelines for promoting coordinated quality development across regions are: adjust and improve regional policies in accordance with the objective laws of economics, give full play to the comparative strengths of different regions, and promote the rational flow and concentration of resources, stimulate innovation-driven development and enhance the dynamics for quality growth, increase the economic and population carrying capacity of regions with development edges, including leading cities and city clusters, and strengthen the capacity of other regions for food, eco-environmental, and border security. Our economy is transitioning from rapid growth to quality development, which has set new requirements for coordinated regional development. We cannot simply expect all regions to reach the same level of growth. Instead, each region should optimize its economic structure and growth model in light of local conditions. It is necessary to have a number of new growth drivers for quality development, such as the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region, the Yangtze River Delta, and the Pearl River Delta in particular, and some important city clusters. Imbalances are common, and we should pursue a relative balance between regions. This is a dialectical approach to coordinated regional development. In order to achieve this goal, we must follow 4 principles. First, we should respect the objective laws of economics. It is natural that industry and population gather in regions with comparative advantages, where city clusters emerge to serve as the main engines for growth and higher overall efficiency of the economy. We need to remove obstacles to the natural flow and concentration of resources and enable the market to play the decisive role in resource allocation for higher efficiency. That said, Beijing, Shanghai, and other megacities should keep the size of their population at a level based on their available resources and principal functions. Second, we should give full play to the comparative strengths of different regions. Regions with conditions favorable for economic development should take on more industries and population and play a stronger role in creating economic value. Regions of eco-environmental importance should be effectively protected and their eco-functions reinforced. For the purpose of national security, border regions should enhance their capacity for development so that their population and economy can grow, laying the foundation for national unity and border stability. Third, we should make the best use of our territorial space. We need to implement and improve the strategy of functional zoning, refine the configuration of functional zones, and formulate and implement targeted policies for key development zones, ecologically fragile zones, and zones with abundant energy resources. In so doing, we will form a rational process of territorial development strictly based on functional zoning. Fourth, we should guarantee people's well-being. One basic requirement of coordinated regional development is to ensure equal access to essential public services and a balanced distribution of infrastructure. We should improve supporting policies involving land, household registration, and transfer payments, enhance the carrying capacity of city clusters, and promote the stable settlement of the migrant population. To help rural people settle in urban areas, we should be results-oriented, do solid work, and ensure that people can move out and settle down easily. We need to ensure equal access to public services in regions which serve the strategic functions of security and eco-environmental protection. 3. Measures for coordinated regional development. We need to improve the mechanism for coordinated regional development and push forward relevant policies and measures. First, we should form a unified, open, competitive, and orderly national market for products and resources. We should implement a unified negative list for market access in all regions, eliminate discriminatory and hidden barriers between regional markets, break administrative monopolies, and eliminate local protectionism. In addition to established policies and regulations from the central government, we need to comprehensively ease the conditions for granting permanent urban residency, improve supporting policies, break down barriers hindering the flow of labor, and promote the optimal allocation of human resources. We should improve market integration, reinforce regional cooperation, and strengthen inter-regional cooperation in infrastructure, environmental protection, and industry. Second, we should bring pension premiums under national unified management as soon as possible. This is of great importance to a nationwide unified market, fair competition between enterprises, and the free flow of labor, while ensuring the unified collection and allocation of provincial funds. In 2020, we should accelerate the effort towards unified management of pension premiums nationwide to ensure consistent rules across the country and mutual assistance between regions. Third, we should reform the land management system. We need to speed up reform in this area and prioritize leading cities and key city clusters in the use of land for construction. With land use planned and rural land rights certified, provincial governments are mainly responsible for managing and coordinating the land quotas for urban and rural construction. More land should be provided for the development of regions with comparative strengths. Fourth, we should improve the system for dual control over the amount and intensity of energy consumption. This system has played a positive role in energy conservation and pollution prevention and control. However, more than 10 provinces have suggested that it is difficult for them to meet the targets of energy consumption control for the 13th Five-Year Plan, 2016 to 2020. This deserves careful study. We should give full consideration to the actual conditions of individual regions while striving to control energy consumption. For fast-developing regions where the intensity of energy consumption meets the standard, the control over the total amount of energy consumed can be relaxed appropriately. Fifth, we should establish a comprehensive system to provide recompense for eco-protection. We need to improve the inter-regional mechanism under which eco-protectors are properly recompensed by the beneficiaries. We need to improve the vertical subsidy mechanism and increase transfer payments to the protection of forests, grasslands, wetlands, and key eco-environmental functional zones. We should also spread the Xinjiang experience gained in a pilot program for the protection of the river water environment, and encourage mutual recompense between the upper and lower reaches of a river through means such as financial, industrial, and personnel support. We need to build a market-oriented, multidimensional mechanism to provide recompense for eco-protection and introduce a pilot mechanism for realizing the value of eco-environmental undertakings in the Yangtze River Basin. Sixth, we should enhance the government transfer payment system. We need to improve the fiscal system and define a reasonable proportion of central expenditure in the overall spending on eco-environmental protection. We should provide effective transfer payments to key eco-environmental functional zones, major agricultural production areas, and poor areas. Basic public services must be provided to residents where they live. To facilitate the flow of labor across the country, we need to use information technology to build an accessible and efficient public service platform. 4. Comprehensive revitalization of the Northeast. The Northeast is an important industrial and agricultural base in our country. It has a strategic bearing on national defense and on food, eco-environmental energy, and industrial security. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, I have made 5 field trips to the Northeast and held 2 meetings there. In the next step, especially during the 14th Five-Year Plan period 2021 to 2025, we will take new strategic measures to promote the comprehensive revitalization of the Northeast. The Northeast has good foundations for a modern economy. Comprehensive revitalization does not mean giving undue support to declining industries and enterprises. Rather, it means effectively integrating resources and adjusting the economy so as to form a new industrial structure that facilitates balanced development. through improving its weak points and tapping its strengths. The Northeast should carry out technological transformation in the traditional manufacturing industry, develop new technologies, new industries, and new forms of business, and cultivate new growth areas such as care for the elderly, tourism, and entertainment. The region should promote the transformation of resource-exhausted areas, speed up the cultivation of alternative industries, and extend the industrial chain. We will increase investment in innovation to provide new impetus for industrial diversification. The state-owned sector accounts for a large proportion of the economy in the Northeast. We should speed up reform of state-owned enterprises to give them a boost. We need to create a new frontier of opening up and attract more multinational companies to invest in the Northeast. The central government can provide preferential policies to this end, but it is more important for the Northeast to change its mindset and forge ahead boldly. The region should accelerate the transformation of government functions, substantially reduce direct resource allocation by the government, strengthen supervision and follow-up, and create conditions for market development. It should support the growth of both local businesses and businesses from elsewhere, and encourage entrepreneurship. A capable workforce is key to revitalization. We need to take measures to make Shenyang, Dalian, Changchun, and Harbin and other important cities more attractive to investment and business. We should give incentives to good officials, take the right approach to appointing officials, and provide a platform for responsible and competent officials to do their job well and get rewarded. End of audiobook, part 10.